with greatest respects to Chief Justice Lalit, Justices Lokur, Justice Gupta, whom I regard as some of the finest judges that I have seen in my career of 44 years. But they are exceptions. They are a dying species. We have large number of judges who are highly questionable. They either lack the expertise, the knowledge, most of all the commitment. And you see today what's happening in the country, that every activist is unable to get bail, even in simplest of the cases. Even stand-up comedians are unable to get the bail when he is produced before a judge for making some, funny comment about the Prime Minister or somebody else. So, look at the kind of situation which we are facing today of the people who are charged with offences in Delhi riot cases. Across the country, it's my experience now, which I have been observing very carefully, that opposition leaders are being arrested, sometimes on flimsy grounds, sometimes on purely bailable offences, but are not getting bail from our lower courts and high courts, and many a times from the Supreme Court. This is really very, very alarming. And this shows that there is large-scale interference by the government in the appointment. Yes, there is a collegium system. Yes, the collegiums comprise and do deliberate very seriously. But I must say, I started in 1978 in Gujarat, and there were 14 judges in Gujarat High Court then. And I can dare say each one was better than the other in terms of competence, in terms of intellectual level, in terms of integrity, in terms of courtesy, in terms of hard-working nature. I mean, all 14 of them were par excellence. I have seen a judge like Chief Justice P.D. Desai, who was Chief Justice of Himachal from Gujarat originally, Himachal Chief Justice, Calcutta Chief Justice, Bombay Chief Justice, and refused to come to Supreme Court because his junior was brought to Supreme Court. I mean, these are the kind of judges I have seen who were exceptional. Today, as it happened during Mrs. Indira Gandhi's time, that judiciary is becoming weak and weak. The collegium system is in place. The judgments of the Supreme Court are law of the land. And yet, there are judges like Akil Qureshi, Justice Jayant Patel, Justice Murlidhar, and many such examples, including Sondis, who are suffering beyond repair. And who is the loser? The nation, the public interest. The Supreme Court has power to ensure that our laws are implemented, power of contempt. But not once the Supreme Court has exercised the power of contempt since 1993. It shows that Supreme Court is afraid of taking the executive head on. And unless Supreme Court takes the executive head on, this interference will continue. To my mind, Chief Justice Murlidhar's place is only in the Supreme Court. He is one of the most outstanding judges in every sense of how a judge should be. He is a classic example of a good judge. But poor fellow, he is not even able to get a good high court. He's in Orissa, collegium recommended him to be transferred to Chennai, Madras. The government is not implementing, and collegium is sitting, twiddling its thumb. Now, I have a very serious reservation about what is happening. There are exceptional judges in collegium, but if you look at the judgment of 1993, the judge's appointment case, I always, wonder, there is only one thing which strikes me in that judgment. The judges said, we must pick the best from those amongst available. Have they done that? In my respectful view, not at all. I have seen some of my colleagues at the bar in Supreme Court being appointed in last 10, 15 years, especially in last 7, 8 years, who should not have ever been considered for judgeship across the board. And it's really, I'm not taking any particular name, but the kind of performance that they have today, the kind of judgments that they pass, the kind of comments that they make in the court makes us really feel, how is it that the collegium system is failing in not considering this? Chief Justice Lalit may be right in saying that in some case they seen, judgments of a particular judge being considered. But I can dare say that a recently appointed judge to the Supreme Court has not written a single good judgment in his career as a judge. Now, what do you do about it? Nobody wants to speak. The bar is silent, absolutely. and the collegium just goes about its work as if everything is honky dory. So my own feeling is that this is not how really we should. There is no doubt that today, like Mrs. Gandhi, Prime Minister Modi is an extremely powerful leader. And naturally, every powerful leader would want to perpetuate his power, and he doesn't want judiciary asking him questions about how his policies are, how his government's actions are. He doesn't want that, naturally. But the judiciary's role, as Chief Justice Lalit said, and as Sodi very beautifully put it, judiciary's role is to question them. And unless we have a judiciary which is willing to question them day in and day out, it's really... Now look at, the kind of comments that Law Minister, the Vice President, the Lok Sabha Speaker have all been making about the collegium. There is complete silence on the part of the political class. Why is it that the political opposition parties are not raising that as a very serious issue while they are wasting their time on La Affair Adani? Of course they should raise about Adani, but that's a secondary issue. The far more serious issue is the attack that the executive is launching every day on the judiciary. So I feel sorry to say that this country has gone into some kind of inertia, some kind of a coma, where we are not interested in a strong and independent judiciary. We do talk. Look at the kind of, effort that has been made in organizing this beautiful seminar. And some of the finest minds of this country are here. But the kind of response that we receive, that shows that nobody in this country, even in the bar, anybody cares. The Supreme Court Bar Association has failed to pass any resolution condemning what the Law Minister has been saying, which is highly improper. Highly improper. And for Law Minister to speak about matters being filed in Supreme Court and caution the Supreme Court not to take up, it's clearly obstruction of justice to my mind. A West Bengal Chief Minister was found guilty of contempt when he did so many years ago. So this is a situation which I don't know how. Yes, I agree with Chief Justice Lalit that collegium system is perhaps the only solution today. Although I was against it when I argued NJSC case as President of the Supreme Court Bar, I did attack the collegium system. Justice Lokur was on that bench, and I was very frank about it because I have seen what is happening. There are many things which we can't discuss.